we've made it to the town of Borodyanka. This is northwest of Bucha towards the Russian border, and somehow the devastation is even worse. I mean, take a look. This was an apartment building just apparently cut in half by bombing. You could see people's homes right in to their apartments there. The mayor of this town has said that when the invasion began, Russia sent its jets to bomb this place.
As Ukraine reclaims land that Russian forces had occupied for weeks, unimaginable horror has somehow got even worse. In the town of Borodyanka, atrocities like those in Bucha are starting to be uncovered, but Russians were here for longer, and so the fear of what might be found is deeper. We travelled to Bucha and saw for ourselves the horrors meted out on the civilian population. At a church, graphic images of what appears to be yet another mass grave. Aid is finally starting to arrive, food and medicine, and the psychological support so many here will need. In an address to the United Nations Security Council, President Zelensky pointed to the atrocities and he called on the world to act.
So they died there in suffering. They were killed in their apartments, houses, blowing up grenades. The civilians were crushed by tanks while sitting in their cars in the middle of the road, just for their pleasure.
He added that if no action is taken by the organization, the UN should be simply closed. And in front of the UN, the US is now pushing for Russia to be suspended from the Human Rights Council. The US ambassador to the United Nations pointing to reports that Russia is forcing Ukrainians into filtration camps where families are separated and tens of thousands are forced to relocate to Russia.
I do not need to spell out what these so-called filtration camps are reminiscent of. It's chilling, and we cannot look away.
The chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Mark Milley, said Ukraine's war with Russia could go on for years, but even greater conflicts could be on the horizon as world powers battle for dominance on the ground and in the air.
The U.S. announcing that it will join forces with the UK and Australia to develop hypersonic weapons and measures to counter them. These highly maneuverable missiles reach altitudes up to 300,000 feet and are nearly impossible to detect, much less defend against. Advances by China and Russia, despite tactical failures on the ground in Ukraine, have deeply concerned the U.S., Russia claiming to have used its own hypersonic missile in combat in Ukraine, and China reportedly launching one last year that flew around the world and fired a projectile while traveling more than 5 times the speed of sound. The U.S. confirming that it has conducted testing recently, but the Pentagon did not want to announce it at the time, fearing it would only increase tensions with Russia as the world's attention focuses on the deadly conflict in Ukraine. A conflict that America's top general is now warning Congress may not be the last.
We are entering a world that is becoming more unstable, and the potential for significant international conflict between great powers is increasing.